Hey everyone, John Henry here, slingshotfutures.com. Today, per the request of one of the commenters on the last couple videos here, I want to do an overview on the outlook on crypto. Cryptocurrency has been in a lull for most of the year and falling off the cliff late last year into early this year. And since then, it hasn't really done much. So what's the viewpoint, right? What are we looking to do here? So if we look historically, the last time we had a bear market was quite a while ago, but that was back in 2014. And you'll kind of notice it looks really similar, doesn't it? We had this gigantic spike up in early, kind of mid to late 2013. Giant run up to about $1,200, and then it fell all the way back down to $105. So it shed a huge amount of value on that pull down. And then it went stagnant for a long, long time. I mean, it didn't start kicking off until 2016. So a full, 2 years later after that bear market kind of began is when it finally started to pick up speed. And the one thing that really stands out is just how eerily similar this all looks. We had this little pop-up and then a big run through the highs and then a huge pullback. Went back up about 50% and then just kind of meandered its way down until it went nowhere for a good amount of time before turning back up again. So let's look at today's chart in comparison, and you'll notice this looks pretty close, right? We had that little bit of a spike higher and then a rip, right? It went flying higher all the way up, pulled back, went up about halfway, and now we're just kind of meandering down. So honestly, one thing that really stands out to me is how similar this is to what happened historically. And historical information is all we have to really work with in terms of trying to forecast anything. So that gives us an idea that we might start looking for an upswing if we go back to when that all happened, right? If it's going to follow that same trend, 2016, you've got January, February, March, April, May, and then things started really breaking out in the end of May. So if that's the case, going into this year, this new year right around the corner, 2019, we might be in this lull, or possibly even slightly down until around March, April, May, right, in that same area. And the reason I say slightly down is because, again, if we utilize historical information, we can see that, yeah, they had those big pops, but it came back, big pop, came back. But before it actually took off, it had a slight downturn and a huge crash, right? This fell from 260 down to 160, so it shed over 50% value. Gone, right? And we may see the exact same thing this time around. Not that I like talking bad about Bitcoin, but if it's going to follow its historical, movement, this could drop to 3,000 and then start that rally to the upside. And that might be what this is going to take. Now, Bitcoin as it stands, where it is now in the short-term future, it's not showing any reason to believe a bullish trend. There's nothing here that would convince me, yes, we're definitely going up. Because what it needs to do is really get out of this funk. We have lower lows, lower highs. Now we're starting to see equal lows or slightly higher lows, lower highs, higher lows. We're consolidating. And whenever we're in a consolidation mode like this, it needs a breakout with heavy amounts of proof. And the reason I say heavy amounts of proof is because you're going to get crap like this, where it tries getting the breakout and then fails all the way back down again, and we're still stuck inside this range. I would guarantee there are a lot of buyers who bought into this spike that might be stuck, and their stops are probably underneath the lows. So if you're looking for a trigger point for a short move down to 3,000, not that it's very easy to short Bitcoin, but there are ways to do it. A move down does make sense right now. Now, in the long term, I am a net bull on Bitcoin. I believe that it does have a very strong chance, more so on Ethereum, but a strong chance of catching a really hard rally going into next year. And if you go back to a video that we posted, way earlier this year, talking about the outlook, actually it might have been late last year, talking about the crypto outlook, this is taking the other part. We were talking about either it's going to be a monstrous year in 2018 and we're going to be up in the 100,000s, or it's going to stagnate and die like the last time we had a big run up, which was back in 2014, and it chose that route. So because of that, I'm not looking for any bullishness to really start kicking off until early next year, which means that right now it's DCA, dollar cost average. You're buying little bits over and over and over again. If you get a paycheck every week, you take, 2% of that paycheck and you buy some Bitcoin with it, 3%, something like that. That's what dollar cost averaging means, is you're just slowly piecing in. You're not putting one giant stake on because, well, there's not really a reason to, that I see at least. But you're more so putting money that is disposable, something where if this does drop 50% in value, who cares? You're out, $20 every week for the past, X amount of, I mean, that might still equate to a lot, but you don't really realize how much that is because you're putting such a small amount forward over time, right? So I think this is still a dollar cost averaging type of market, and we're still in very much a range to sideways and potentially even slightly down for that spike lower to try to find support. If this is going to turn bullish, right, I think the big thing we need to see is a break above, probably above 8,000. Get a break above 8,000 and actually close up here, right? Show a candle that closes up here and get a few days, a few weeks of bullishness up here and then pull back, and then we can look for this to run away. But right now, as it stands, I think we're neutral to slightly down, in fact. On Ethereum, it's the same story. If we look at the overall emphasis, this is that downward momentum that we've been watching for quite a while, and it's already back down. I mean, this was another one that pushed all the way up to 1,400, and now it's all the way back down to 198. That's unfortunate that we have to deal with these types of environments, and I think the big thing that we need to see here is similar to Bitcoin. We need to spike down, get us down to a major level of structural support, and then go flying higher. Again, I'm looking at potentially, early next year. Litecoin, a little bit of a similar story here, but Litecoin tends to kind of beat to its own drum a little bit. It wouldn't be a surprise to see this one take a little bit longer to follow along with the others. The big three when it comes to crypto are usually Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin. That was last year. This year, it might be Bitcoin, Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash or something else, or Ripple as an example. But in reality, Litecoin still tends to follow along with Ethereum. It's kind of like a fractal off of the markets. You have Bitcoin and then Ethereum as a fractal, and then Litecoin is a fractal of that. It just keeps kind of chopping down in terms of value. Now, in the long run, I still think that Ethereum is going to be the top dog. I think it has more application use. It's just more useful. Bitcoin introduced blockchain, but it's just another currency. I mean, there's a bajillion other cryptos that can do the same job that Bitcoin can do, arguably better, with less issues, less fees, etc. So, it doesn't have a whole lot of applicable use other than being an anonymous currency, which is arguable there as well. So because of that, I think Ethereum in, 5 years from now, 10 years from now will be top dog. I think Ethereum or something similar like a blockchain technology that you can develop on, I think those are going to be the kings because they actually have uses. You can use them for something other than just a currency. So, take that with how you will, but that's kind of my viewpoint on those types of industries, I guess, if you will. Litecoin, it's just another currency, right? It's just another coin. I could use Ripple, I could use Neo, I could use Doge, I can use all of those to do the exact same thing for probably cheaper. So Litecoin, again, it doesn't really serve that strong purpose that I see with Ethereum and some of these privacy coins. A privacy coin, that could be huge if you're looking to really remain anonymous. That's where I think we're going to see more utility. But for right now, Bitcoin and Litecoin, Bitcoin's kind of the granddaddy, but it wouldn't be a surprise in the next few years to see that dethroned. That said, they're all following the same trend where we're getting a dip down. It wouldn't be a surprise to see Litecoin catch that dip down as well, maybe to the low 10s. You never know. And then see the spike back up. That's kind of where we stand right now on the big names, at least, in terms of crypto. And the overall outlook, in my opinion, I don't see us catching a lift until early next year. It could be earlier than May, June, July, something like that. Or later, rather, or earlier, something like April. But, regardless of the scenario, it's likely going to be an early next year kind of thing as we go into the end of the year. We tend to see the markets die a little bit going into December. And that goes across the board, obviously, but they do tend to die off in price as well, especially on the crypto side. People have to cash out to get some Christmas presents. So it wouldn't be a surprise to see a downturn going into December and January, but then start seeing it reverse as we go into the new year. So that's the outlook for crypto. Hopefully you find that useful, helpful, and just overall something to kind of keep your eyes on. It's always kind of interesting to see how cyclical it wants to follow along with historical price movement, and it looks really similar to what it did before. So it'll be curious, but I'm looking for next year before we really start seeing some bullishness. And in fact, I'm looking for a deeper price movement down to buy into before we start seeing that rally. So that's going to do it. As always, I hope you had a fantastic trading day today. I hope you have a phenomenal trading week as a whole. And until the next video, have a good one, and we'll see you all then. Thanks.